in the AAMI studio today with Trabue Bryans, a longtime AAMI volunteer and subject matter expert in sterilization, sterility assurance, and microbiological quality. Welcome, Trabue. Thank you for coming here and talking with us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now you're coming to a big milestone with your career. Tell us a little bit
Right.
about what's next.
It is retirement and I'm actually going to do it. A lot of people taper off, but I just figure, I will end it. But I'm going to stick with Amy for a year or two after that, just to see some projects through, you know.
Wonderful. Yeah, we're excited to have you and excited for you for your next
Yeah.
chapter. So, all right. Well, have the opportunity to ask you a few questions and kind of pick your brain with your expertise over many years. And when you look back over your career, what major innovations or shifts in sterilization science or practice stand out to you as being most transformative for the field?
It really is the AAMI standards and the ISO standards that transformed it because I was in the field before those. And once you had something in front of you and then you knew you could participate and change things, that was that was the big thing. That's why I was very involved. Joyce Hanson got me involved,
Right. Mhm.
and we went from there. And then I remember we began being involved with ISO, and it was just knowing that everybody had the same needs around the world, not just us, wondering how to manage sterilization or testing, but everybody needed it. Yeah.
Yeah. There was quite a cohort of folks that were coming through and sharing their
Hmm.
expertise, and it has had such a tremendous impact on how things are done
Yeah.
and producing so many standards that have helped so many to
So
advance their
many when you
practice.
think about it.
Yeah. So you've played a major role in the AAMI standards and ISO TC
Hmm.
198 standards. You've been a leader in development of those standards. You've
Yes.
served as a co-chair. You've been a convener on the ISO TC 198 side.
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask you, what has participation in standards development taught you about collaboration to get to consensus and the value of participating in standards development, particularly on a global scale?
Yeah, the global is where the collaboration is more important,
Mm.
actually. I think a lot of the US people, we're of the same ilk and we understand each other, but when you get in a meeting with all the countries and everybody understands English, but the language differences, you just realize you have to be on a different level with
Mm.
uh, diplomacy and collaboration and everything else. You have to understand where these people are coming from. So, moving from the AAMI committees into the ISO was I had to learn and sort of like rein myself in from just bull in a china shop to understanding that the people need a different approach and time,
Mhm.
more time to understand things, so that type of stuff. So it was a lot of that I've learned and understood. I think anybody that's a convener, or a co-chair, but learns that because you take on a role that's different from maybe your personality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're especially in the global arena,
Mhm.
you're um, coming from so many different perspectives where
Oh,
the realities and the practice can be so different across different jurisdictions, and even the definitions
oh,
can change. I mean, words have tremendous amount of meaning.
one of my favorite things is uh, 30, 40 years ago when we were talking about test of sterility and
Mhm.
sterility tests, and we were and test four, and we were at 3M trying to come up with definitions. And so we came up with test of sterility and test for sterility. And we're so proud. 8 hours it took us to do that. We get to the ISO arena and it translates exactly the same in every language but English.
Wow.
So there, so it was, you learn those
Mhm.
kinds of things too. Sort of interesting,
Yeah, what I think is funny is we still have some of those conversations
but
around test of sterility and test for sterility and the confusion around it. So, as the saying goes, the more things change,
yep.
the more they stay the
Mhm.
same, right? So, tell me a little bit about a project that really felt very impactful, something you've worked on over the years, just was maybe transformative for the field or helped to advance the practice a bit.
The one I think of is I don't know about advancing as much as defining. I was very involved at the first in trying to get at the ISO level, um, sterility assurance
Mhm.
and SAL and that you know committee, that working group, and what I had said at the very first was we're TC 198. This is sterilization. And we don't have an SAL or assurance of sterility working group. And we need that, and we need to talk about alternate SALs. And this was maybe 15 to 20 years ago. And the pushback was tremendous. And
Wow.
so we started it in AAMI, and then the the mirror group in ISO. And even though we're not there where I would hope by the time now that I'm retiring, it's still it's been crawling, but we're getting there because it's so important that people understand about alternate SALs and about the science behind it, and the safety to the patient behind it and all that. But it's just been toe in the door and just keep going, and we're still working on that
Oh, yeah.
at the ISO level. I think US understands it, but so that was groundbreaking on the sense that we had so much pushback, but it's
Absolutely.
it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah, the good work continues for sure, and those conversations are still happening. So I think
Yeah.
we're gonna see changes,
Yeah.
going
Mhm.
forward. So
It takes getting all the international people and everybody else just used to an idea, and then you start presenting science and ideas and opinions. But internationally you can't just come up with something just out of the blue, and they need time to think about that kind of
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
absolutely. The socialization of
Yeah.
concepts and then
Mhm.
the explanation, and here's the research to back it
Right.
up, all
Mhm.
very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, as you're moving into this next chapter, I wanted to ask you, what advice do you have for those folks that are entering the field now in sterility assurance and thinking about
Mm.
becoming standards development participants?
Well, I have a lot of advice, but I typically actually have a training presentation on getting into AAMI and ISO, what it means, what your role is, what their role is. It's not formal. It's more of hints from Heloise, I call it. And I talk about you've got to commit. You can't just call into the meetings and listen.
Mhm.
You can't just look at a document and say, "It looks fine to me." You really have to buy in. And if you buy in, and then if you participate, and I mean task groups or anything, volunteer, whatever, it's a long process, but it builds not only your credibility, your company. It is very valuable to the company, and you have to just own it, really. And I did that. There was a time when I was co-chair of two working groups, convener,
Mhm.
an ISO, and it was hard, but it
Yeah.
was marvelous because you felt like you were really making a difference. You were moving things along, you were getting somewhere, and listening to other people too. I mean, you hear things and you're like, I never thought that. I never read that standard and read it that way, but someone else reads it that way. So that's why we need the new people. They see what we've written, we know fine. And then they're like, but it says X. And you're like, it does. We need to fix that. So for new people coming in, really it is more of not just being a sideline, just watching the game. But if anything, get in there and try to make a difference and participate. And it'll be noticed. And people
Absolutely.
will notice the people that participate.
Yeah, that's very true. Sinking your teeth into it,
Yes.
getting to know the other folks who are involved and the
Hmm.
perspectives that they're bringing. It's important for the professional, it's important for the practice. And I really appreciate your commitment, your dedication over the years. I like to say that standards is legacy work, and you've certainly been the embodiment of
Yeah.
that.
You feel like it is. I feel like it is. I feel like if anything, would be right at the top of accomplishments. It's just having stuck in there for all this time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a great thing to do,
Yeah.
personally and professionally.
Well, we thank you very
You
much,
bet.
and it's been a pleasure talking with
Yeah,
you
good
today.
talking to you. Yes, great.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.